Fantastic. So shall we start again? Good evening and welcome to District Assembly Day 3. Wow, where's the time gone? So tonight the theme is dementia. But before we set off on that journey, I just want us to look back on the week and what we've talked about already. So I always start with sharing with you the theme for my year, which is create hope in the world, in our communities and in ourselves through creating peace and well-being. And the incoming Rotary International President, Gordon McAnally, reminded us that peace is the soil where hope takes root. So on Saturday, Rotarians Velma Robinson and Phil Dyer set us off on an incredible journey with the power of our brand, the impact of our project, and how through engaging storytelling we can raise our profile. And then last night, Rotarians Mary Bradley and John Blows showed us how we can foster harmony between our communities and draw in our seventh area of focus, which is the environment. So tonight we will focus our attentions on dementia awareness. And our aim is to raise awareness, to learn how we can help those with the disease, as well as their families and carers, to live the best life they possibly can. And I am delighted to be joined tonight by Rotarian Peter Brooks from Blackpool Palatine Rotary. And I know Peter has got some guests with him that he will introduce along the way. So I'm going to set the scene and then I'm going to hand over to Peter. Back in 2015, my mum was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia, which is a form of a dementia that includes Parkinson's disease. And from her diagnosis until her passing in early 2020, my dad and I worked really hard to ensure that she continued to live her best life. And I made sure that Dad had as much support as possible to care for Mum at home. So fast forward to last year, and I took a call from Rotarian John Edwards, who will be your district governor in 2025-26. John, as the assistant governor, had been at a meeting at Blackpool Palatine and had met a gentleman called Peter Brooks, who wanted to share with him an idea that he had. And John wanted to share that idea with me. Peter's project centred around raising the district's awareness of dementia and how we can offer support and fellowship to those who wanted it. Little did either of them know my lived experience with dementia and my immense enthusiasm at the thought of bringing together this kind of project. So I've met Peter and John on a number of occasions, and over many coffees and the odd cake or seven, we get here tonight, ready to share our theme and a call to action. Now, I could talk for hours on this subject, but I know Peter is far better qualified. So it gives me immense pleasure to introduce to you Peter Brooks and his guests, and for him to share our dementia journey and our focus for the year. So Peter, I'm just going to stop screen sharing and turn off my camera, and the floor is yours.
Hello. Hello. Are we there? I hope so.
I can see you.
Thanks, Pam, and thanks to everybody for their time, giving up the time to join us tonight. I want to say a special thanks to Malcolm, whose tech skills have saved us on more than one occasion, but I'm sure he'll carry on doing that tonight. So, what dementia? What is it? I think we're all familiar with the word, but what does it actually mean? Well, dementia is an umbrella term for several conditions that affect cognitive abilities behaviour and memory loss. There's 900,000 people approximately in the UK that have a diagnosis, and someone develops dementia every 3 minutes. That's a startling statistic. Dementia is one of the major causes of disability and dependence. I would suggest that everybody knows somebody with dementia. There's no cure, but the progress of the condition can be slowed down with medication and the right approach and support. And life can be good. Throughout the course of my work, I've met lots of people with dementia and found that once you've met a person with dementia, you've met a person with dementia. No two people are the same, even though they have the same diagnosis. I think it's perhaps fair to say as well that the only expert in dementia is the person with the diagnosis. And I'm sure that's something that Pam and our guests later on can confirm. But dementia doesn't just affect the person with the diagnosis. It has a massive impact on their partners, their children, their friends, and their lives too. And as we get older, we have a higher risk of developing dementia. It's a paradox. The fitter we are, the longer we live. The longer we live, the more chance we have of developing dementia. Between the ages of 65 and 69, 2 in 100 people are likely to get dementia. When we reach 85 to 89, it's 1 in 5. And it's not just older people that get dementia. I think the youngest man with dementia is 23, and there's childhood dementia too. So what can we do to help the people that are affected by dementia? Let's think about Rotary and service above self. Malcolm's got the first slide, I believe. Yes, District 1190 can make a difference. In the year of hope, by partnership working, we can enable people with dementia, their family and friends, to have a better quality of life by opening the doors of our clubs to the community and asking them to join us on our journey of dementia. I'd like now to introduce a friend of mine, Helen Ashton, to share her story about her mum's journey with dementia, the effects of the condition had on them both, and how it still affects Helen.
Denise Mary Hobson, my mum. So my mum died nearly 2 years ago. It's just coming up the anniversary of her death, which happened to be about 10 hours before my birthday, which was really hard. Mum had had a long life. She was 92 when she died. So most people would say, wow, that's, that was a good life she had. And it was. And, we all had our ups and downs. She was divorced and remarried, and she saw an awful lot going on with her family. Both her daughters divorced and remarried. And we both had 2 girls. Me and my sister had 2 girls, and I've got 4 grandchildren, one of which has cerebral palsy and epilepsy. So that was a challenge in itself, because for a person of mum's age, she found that very difficult to understand. She couldn't really get to grips with his disability, and so it was hard for her. And the older she got and the older he got, it became more and more difficult for her to understand why this had happened. So we, as a family, decided at a stage in her life that she needed to go into assisted living. And it wasn't for any reason that she wasn't showing any signs of dementia at all, but she was finding it more and more difficult to look after herself. So we got her into assisted living, but then it became apparent that actually she just needed a little bit extra help. So in the end, she ended up in a care home. And the care home was lovely, But then, of course, for all of us in the whole world, COVID hit, and the care home struggled. It was one of the most horrendous times. She didn't understand the beginnings of dementia were setting in. She didn't understand what this virus was. Every time I spoke to her, she just kept saying, "Oh, I can't wait for the virus to be over." And of course, we all knew that that wasn't going to happen anytime soon. So it became very, very difficult to communicate with her, for her to understand what was going on. We didn't visit because obviously we weren't allowed to, which made it very, very difficult because she couldn't understand why nobody would come to see her, and she felt very isolated. And of course, you know, becoming at the end of her life, when we were right in the midst of COVID, when I did go and visit her, I looked just like another person who was working at the home. She didn't really know who I was, which made that really, really hard. At Christmas Eve in 2000 and I'd like to say 2019, 2020 Christmas Eve, 2020 Christmas Eve, I got a call from the home to say, she's not well at all and you need to get over. So I dropped everything, got in the car, bearing in mind I live 3 hours away from her. So I jumped in the car, travelled over, sat with her, completely PPE'd up, and just expected a phone call. When I left, I was expecting a phone call all night. Nothing came, and she actually managed to survive 6 months after that. But there was a lot of ups and downs. There was a lot of times when I was calling the home to try and find out how she was. I'd get some of the care staff. They did everything they could, but for me it wasn't enough. I was a daughter who wanted to know more about how her mum was and what was going on. So some care staff would say, "Oh, she's had a meal, she's had a pudding, she's been sitting chatting to me in the chair." And then the next time I'd ring, "Oh, she's not eaten anything for 24 hours. She hasn't drunk anything. We're going to call the doctor in." And it just got to the stage where it was so hard to understand. I spent hours ringing the home. I spoke to the doctor, trying to get some form of idea of what was going on. I did go and see her again a few times. We were allowed to sit outside in the care home, bearing in mind it wasn't during the summer, and she'd sit there wrapped in a blanket. You could only just see her little face over the top of this great big blanket. And I'd just travelled 3 hours, absolutely busting for a wee, so I had to end up at the nearest Sainsbury's, jumped into the loo there to relieve myself because I wasn't allowed to go at the home. I wasn't allowed to come into the home. And we'd sit across this table in this really drafty corridor. I was shouting at her because she couldn't hear. Her hearing aids weren't working properly and she couldn't get anybody in to help her. And I was just sat there thinking, I would have driven 1,000,000 miles to see her for 5 minutes. But there's something wrong about this. There's something wrong that I can't sit in a room and hold mum's hand. And I get that, you know, I was lucky I got to see her. Some families didn't get to see their loved ones, but it was so cruel. And then I'd just get back in the car and drive another 3 hours and get home. And I was no better off. In fact, I felt worse because I hated seeing her like that. I felt as if I was making her sit outside in the cold. So it just wasn't, it really wasn't a good time. And the home didn't really grasp what was needed for people like mum who were deteriorating. So it got to the stage where she was bedridden, and I managed to talk to the doctor a few times, and in the end they agreed to give me access to see her because they sort of classed it as an end of life package, so to speak. And I'd travel for 3 hours. I'd get there, I'd put all this stuff on, and I'd just sit and hold her hand, and she'd just sleep or moan, or she kept repeating things, but she didn't know I was there. She didn't know it was me, which was really hard. It was really hard to sort of sit and try and talk to her. I tried to tell her all about the kids. I tried to tell her about what I was doing, but inside I was just feeling as if my world was collapsing. This was my mum. This lady that had been there all of my life, bearing in mind I'm coming up 60 at the end of May. All of my life I've had this woman. And it was really hard to watch her deteriorate. It was really, really hard. I felt the home, I'd really love to say they did their best, but I don't believe they did. I know it's hard, and I understand that they had their staffing issues and everything else. And, you know, Mum was having to have baths in a hoist, and, you know, because she just didn't get out of bed. She became so weak. But, you know, there's one time I got there, and her nails, and under her nails were really long, and under her nails it was filthy, absolutely filthy. And she also didn't have her wedding ring on. So I mentioned this and didn't hear anything back. But I actually put in a complaint as to, you know, I did not believe she was being looked after. But I can't, not being able to be there, not being able to go back the next day, not being able to pop in, it's really difficult to complain about something when I'm not on the doorstep to do so. So it became really stressful. As a family, it became stressful. And when it got to the stage that she really was just sleeping all day long, I managed to get her morphine upped by talking to the doctor. I just made a real nuisance of myself, which I hated doing. I don't like upsetting anybody, you know, but nobody was helping me. I didn't have anybody to turn to. I didn't have anybody to talk to. So I was just doing this on my own, with my own instincts to work out what I was supposed to be doing. So I went to see her a couple of days before she died, and I sat and stroked her hair and held her hand. And really, I suppose, said my goodbyes. And then we just waited. I would have done anything to have been there when she passed, but I wasn't. And I think I lost Mum a long time before she died, but I still felt there was a little something in there. And the thought of her feeling lonely and abandoned and left in a room on her own, just waiting to die. I mean, she said to me before she'd been so lonely and so isolated that she didn't want to be here anymore. And I kept saying, you mustn't say that. You must not say that, because we need you. But actually, her mind was still there, but her body was just giving up. But as humans, we keep going. Our body just keeps going, and until obviously the bitter end. So she passed away on the 29th of May, 2 years ago. And I miss her every day. I've still got phone messages she left me. She was really funny, because it was very much as she was getting older and a little bit more confused. She'd leave me messages sort of, not even, hi, how are you? She'd just ring and say, oh, I've got this bug, and they've locked me in my room, so I can't get out. And it just made me laugh, because I just thought, none of this, oh, hi, Helen, I'm missing you, I love you. So I've still got these messages, and I still listen now and again when I can. But I think the thing that I want to do to help other people, not everybody will have gone through this experience, because COVID was a short window in all of our lives. Really, when we look back, it really is a short window. But one of the things that I do want to help with is to make sure that people know that there's somebody there. I had nobody to talk to. I didn't know that Dementia UK had a helpline. You know, I'd have been on that phone. I'd have been asking for help, asking for direction as to what I do next, who I talk to, what's the best way forward. And I want to be there for somebody else. I want to, if I can make somebody else realise that that is available, because I think it really is a lifeline. It really, really is a lifeline. So things happen now that I really want to tell her about. And I do, I talk to her, obviously, in my own way. But I think it's a really cruel disease, that it takes away that person, and they don't remember, and they just fade. And they're there, but they're not there. And I found that really hard to handle. Obviously, circumstance made it worse because of COVID and everything else. But dementia is a horrible, horrible disease. And just when you've got your life together, you're wanting to share the achievements and the laughs and the times with your mum, you can't, because she doesn't know who you are. So that's my story. I'm more than happy to talk to other people and relay it if that helps the cause. But you know, I'll do my best. I've done a walk for dementia. I raised some money for dementia. I will help in any way I possibly can, because nobody should feel, nobody should go through this, but nobody should feel the way I felt. I was very isolated. I was very lonely. I was lost because I had no idea what I was doing. And perhaps I could have done things better, could have done things differently. I don't think it would have made much of a difference to Mum, because she was, you know, in that last sort of 6 months, 6 months, she sort of lost herself to this horrible disease. And you can't turn that back, you can't change that. So I don't think that would have made any difference, but I think it would have made a difference to me. And I would have felt that I was doing the right thing, because I didn't always do the right thing, and I got angry. I don't think I wouldn't take anything back, because I didn't do anything really bad, but I think probably just some help with direction and with your feelings. And you know, even even when you get to 60, you need your mum.
Thanks, Helen. Quite an emotional part of the presentation. Isolation, loneliness. Who do I turn to? What more can I do? Why did Mum do that? I've already lost Mum. Why do I feel so useless? These emotions and the words that Helen used are common to everybody I've met that has supported somebody with dementia. But it doesn't have to be like that. It's probably a good time now to move on and introduce Jenny Fitzsimmons, who is a Dementia UK ambassador, an expert by experience, who will tell you about her role and what she does and how we can perhaps support her through Rotary. Over to you, Jenny.
Hello, everyone. My name's Jenny, and I'm proud to be a volunteer ambassador with Dementia UK. I'm absolutely delighted to join your meeting. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm so excited about your project. Having listened to Helen's story, it's a story you hear every day all over the country. So, Dementia UK provides specialist dementia support for families through their Admiral Nurse services. Now, when things get challenging or difficult for people with dementia and their families, Admiral Nurses work alongside them, giving guidance, one-to-one support and practical solutions they need, which is so difficult to find elsewhere. Now, Admiral Nurses are continually trained, developed and supported by Dementia UK. We find that families that have their support have someone who is a true expert and caring at their side, helping them to live more positively with dementia in the present and to help them to face the challenges of tomorrow with more confidence and less fear. I'm incredibly proud to be part of this project, and I absolutely applaud you. And I know that together we can make lives better for people and their families living with dementia. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks very much indeed. And thanks for joining us. So, our journey with dementia. You've had the background, the scene is set, the next move. It's ours. The Rotary District 1190 will be joined on the journey by Dementia UK ambassadors. Our suggestion is that the Dementia UK will make a presentation at each Rotary Club in the district from July. A speaker fee will be made to Dementia UK, and that will be put towards the work that they do and the support of the Admiral Nurses. A certificate of commitment will be presented at each talk with a unique logo on. So this logo has been designed by Helen. It's two feathers together, the colours of Rotary and the colours of Dementia UK. If you look closely, there's a heart shape on the right-hand side. That's Helen's mum's favourite colour, and that's why that's part of that logo. A feather symbolises remembrance. We see feathers floating down. Feathers are everywhere. It just seems appropriate that somebody that's been so involved in dementia should be given the opportunity to share that experience through this creative way, and that's why that logo is so useful to us and will be the flag that we wave on our journey. Thank you, Malcolm. Once that has happened and we've had the initial talk from Dementia UK, we hope that each Rotary Club will then arrange one event during the year to raise funds for Dementia UK. Coffee mornings, book sales, sponsored walks, a swim, a colour splash, a craft fair, whatever it may be, a musical event. Once that event is over, a certificate of appreciation will be presented to each club in recognition of their work. I'd also like to suggest that each Rotary club at their meeting has a copper collection, something like this, a jam jar, and every time you have a meeting, you put your spare change in, the coppers, the silver, whatever you've got, because small change makes a massive difference. It's not just about putting your hand in your pocket. I think it's about giving hope. It's about giving support, and it's about learning together. In a chat with Jamie Anderson, you probably don't know who Jamie Anderson is. His dad was Jerry Anderson. Jerry Anderson, the TV producer, the creator of such brilliant TV programs as Thunderbird, Stingray, Captain Scarlet. He died of dementia. And Jamie said that even after the disease had taken his ability to read and write, some of Jerry's best days came when he was doing something different, something new, something out of the ordinary. Jamie went on to say, it would have been so easy for all of us to give up and sentence Dad to an ever decreasing sphere of existence. But instead, driven by his desire to do something positive, we helped him to do new things. He kept striving to live life to the full. And as a result, he did a fantastic amount of good, despite a diagnosis that so many see as the beginning of the end. It doesn't have to be that way. Rotary, this is our challenge. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Jenny, and thank you, Helen. Tonight's assembly embodies our Rotary vision. Together, people create change, and the theme of creating hope in the world, in our communities, and also in ourselves. We've heard some incredible stories there from Helen. We've heard from Jenny, and Peter has set the scene. What I would like to do is just to talk you through how we want to achieve this during the year. Now, I want to start by thanking, I've already had some incredible emails from some of you who are caring for people with dementia. I've also had emails from people who are supporting memory cafes. So that work is already there, and it's our chance to collate that information. And if I take you back to Saturday and to Velma and Phil, and we talk about our storytelling, our impact, and how we support our communities, then it's for me, it's really important that we grow our picture of dementia and the support and the work that we do. Jenny and the team will support us through this year, and really it's your creativity that will help us grow this. I know a few years ago, and I apologise because I don't have the person's name, but a few years ago, one of the district governors had dementia awareness as their theme at conference, and there was a lot of dementia awareness training, and we do have some dementia champions within our district. And again, I would ask that they let me know who they are, and together with Peter, we can create a plan, because whilst, yes, dementia is a horrible disease and it takes so much from the person who has it, what we mustn't forget, and the reason we are doing this, is that we want to create a positive environment for people with dementia. We want to help those who have the disease to live the best life that they can. And we want to help those families and those people caring for someone with dementia to have the best support. I go back to Helen talked about, I want people to know that there is somebody there. I want people to know that I'm here to listen. And I want people to know that support is always available. And that's some of the work we'll be doing. So Peter, thank you so much indeed. I hark back to that first coffee we had sat at the Marriott where John introduced the two of us. And then if you could get 3 people who could talk loads, it was a bit of a challenge who was going to talk the most that night. But there was so much excitement, so many notes taken. And to see that idea that you came with come alive and grow and be supported by Dementia UK, and I know will be supported by our members, is fantastic. I obviously am incredibly passionate about raising awareness about myth busting and bringing smiles. One of the things that I always used to say to my mum and dad every day is that we need to end the day with a smile and a bit of a giggle, and it doesn't matter what it's about, but we need to end the day with a smile. And I'd like us to have a bag, a suitcase, a bucket full, a world full of smiles that we can share with people and hopefully make their lives, whether they have the disease or whether they are caring for somebody, make their lives that little bit better. So thank you so much indeed, Peter. Thank you, Jenny. Helen joined us on Saturday, and I thanked her in advance for tonight. So, and I know that she's keen to come back in with us and get involved. She isn't a Rotarian, but my challenge to Peter is to get her in as a Rotarian because of all the amazing work that she does. Malcolm, do we have any questions or any thoughts? And please, if you have any thoughts on this evening, or if you have any comments, I know it's a really emotional subject, and I appreciate everybody that comes on, and thank you for your time. Are there any questions or comments in the Q&A, Malcolm, that you want to share?
Yeah, there's 2 comments so far. One from Heather Whitton. Not a question, but I had a similar situation with a close aunt, so sympathise with Helen. Kevin Walsh, I'm one of the Dementia Ambassadors, champions, brackets, working to raise awareness through Dementia Friends sessions. Brampton and Longton have also been hosting the Carlisle Dementia Action Alliance for the past 4 years. Many local Rotarians have been trained. Happy to arrange these Dementia Friends sessions online for district colleagues.
That's absolutely fantastic. And somebody had said to me, Kevin, that you may well be a dementia champion. So I'm glad that it's true. And I will introduce you to Peter, and I'm sure between us we can come up with a plan, and that we can make District 1190 even more dementia friendly than it already is. So if there are no more further questions,
yeah, there's somebody with a hand up.
Yeah.
Jim Costello. So I'll open him so he can ask you the question.
Yeah.
There we go. How's that?
Yeah.
That's marvellous, Jim. That's marvellous.
Okay, right. Can I just say that what I've just been listening to and seeing is very, very heartfelt. And what I want to say is that if any Rotarians are anywhere around Leyland on Friday, at the Lancashire FA headquarters on King Street, we are having a party, a tea party for dementia, because we have a group called Sporting Memories. And the Sporting Memories are, shall we say, we have 1 or 2 ex-footballers from Preston North End, Burnley and Blackburn who do suffer from dementia. And they do come to us. And when we show photographs of Turf Moor and Ewood Park and Deepdale, it brings them alive. It brings them alive. So we are having a tea party, tea and cakes, 2 o'clock till 4 o'clock on Friday of this week. If anybody's around, you'd be most welcome.
Oh, that's absolutely amazing. That is, Jim. Thank you, Peter. I think our list of champions and work is going to be quite long, which is utterly fantastic. So that's ace. Thank you, Jim, for sharing that. And I'm sure there'll be a few more around the district that will be taking place. Malcolm, any more questions or comments?
Oh, yeah, another hand up. Ian McTurk, so I'll let him come in.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Malcolm. Yes, Pam, you may not know, but Church and Oswald will run a weekly early dementia and loneliness tea on a Thursday afternoon. And like the speakers you've had on, actually, it's extremely moving, because for the first time I saw a presentation having had a word with the carer of the individual, where our community lead did a bit of research and presented sort of This Is Your Life, where they actually found pictures on the internet of the school and the college and the works that that person had, added music for that period and so on, and they absolutely come to life. It brought tears to my eyes, but we've been running that for quite a while with our community lead person. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Ian. And isn't it amazing? We do a lot of music groups, singing for the brain, and that sound that suddenly that face lights up and there's a big smile and there's lots of memories come flooding back is really impactful and very incredible to watch. So Ian, that's amazing. There you go, Peter, another one. Good Lord, I hope you've got a big book there. Another one for our list. And as we work our way around the district, I'm sure there are lots and lots more groups, support groups, and people who hold out that hand of friendship to help those that need it. So we will have the District Assembly on the website along with day 1 and day 2. And what I would ask is that in the first instance, if you want to drop me an email or through Malcolm, our District Secretary, in relation to this, and then between us, Peter will be making contact with clubs and groups of clubs to hopefully move this forward and help those that need it. And that's quite an incredible thing. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening. And I'll remind you, a week on Monday. So Monday, the 15th of May, is our last District Assembly session. I can't believe this. Apart from getting the slides wrong today, which I apologise, I can't believe that we're coming to the close. But we end on Monday, the 15th, 6:30, back on Zoom, and it's all about foundation. And it's Rotarians John McGill, who is our foundation lead, and Rotarian Les Hardy, who is a club foundation lead, and they're going to debunk those myths and make foundation a lot simpler. And one that I know we spend a lot of time supporting, but I'll bring us back to our storytelling. Do we share the impact of what we do? So John and Les have got a really fantastic evening ready for us. So Monday the 15th, stick it in your diaries. If you've not booked on, then please register, and then that will be the end of my District Assembly. Goodness gracious me. So have a lovely evening. Take care, and I will see you soon. Thanks very much indeed.